Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. In this video I will show you something new and very cool. A tiny brushed ESC with awesome performance and low speed modulation. This is the Floh ESC. Floh is flea in English, by Klemm. Klemm is a very new tiny German company. It's a one-man show run by Alexander Klemm, electrical engineer with academic background, PhD in engineering, and working full-time in tech research. And he developed a new genius software for brushed ESCs and was able to pack all this in a super small processor. As it is now, the Floh ESC is exclusively sold via Amazon. So that's good and bad. Good because everyone can easily buy from Amazon. Bad because of actual shipping restrictions. Here in the European Union we have new regulations on packaging starting 2023. It's chaos. 27 European Union states and nearly 27 different regulations. Crazy. Especially for small shops it's extremely laborious and also very expensive to meet all those regulations and to do the bureaucracy paperwork, and super uneconomic. So most shops actually do not ship to many other European Union countries. I'm in Austria and actually I cannot buy a Klemm Floh ESC from Amazon, but actually I also cannot buy from AliExpress. Crazy times. But Klemm told me that he's working on this and he will try to sell his products worldwide. So also to UK, USA, Canada, and so on. And I'll give the Amazon link in the description. Check it, and hopefully the Floh ESC will soon also be available in your country. I was a tiny little bit involved in the development of this ESC, only a tiny little bit. I received several versions for testing, starting with version 0, and here we now are at version 5, so the 6th version, and this will finally also be sold. I found only some small problems with the compatibility with several radio brands and the low voltage cutoff, but Klemm could solve all those problems by changes in the software of the ESC. So maybe you will say my review of the Floh ESC here now is biased because of this. Maybe it is. However, I will show you all good and also all not so good points of the Floh ESC in this video. The Amazon link given below is no affiliate link, so I won't get anything if you buy neither from Amazon nor from Klemm Company. Yes, no affiliate links. Check how many review videos you'll find today on YouTube without affiliate links. I simply really like if small new companies come into the market with new products for our hobby. And the more if those companies are local companies, or at least European Union. For me, the Klemm Floh ESC is developed in Germany and produced in Germany. Programming, soldering, even boards, everything done here. SMD parts, yes, SMD parts. And of course from Far East, since there is no production here anymore. And I wonder if it will ever be possible again in future to make such a product 100% European Union. And that's it. Here it is, the Floh ESC by Klemm. That's the packaging. You will receive it. It does come, I hope this one is full, with instructions, but only in German, and special bag for the small tiny ESC. That's it. Yes, it does come without wires. I know most of you do not like this and prefer plug and play stuff. However, I for myself, I highly prefer an ESC without wires, because I want to solder the wires I want in the length I need for a specific model with the plugs I want to the ESC. Here on the pictures you can see the two sides of the ESC. Soldering pads are super large and soldering is super easy. If some of you liked, maybe I could do a short tutorial video one day how to wire up and solder small ESCs. However, Klemm told me maybe one day there will be a version with wires if demand is big enough. And I do already know your questions. No, it's not waterproofed. If you need and want this, then conformal coat it. I use personally this spray, Contact Chemie Plastic 70, for making SMD boards waterproof, and the same product is also comes or used for the Modellbauregler DE-ESCs. So, and now let's check the specifications of the Floh ESC. You see the size, and let's compare it to other popular and top brushed micro ESCs compared to the ASX24 Crawler ESC. It's a tiny little bit, or a little bit larger, but it's significantly smaller than the Modellbauregler DE AS1215RW, and it's quite a bit larger than the AS126 and also than the Furitech Lizard ESC. It can take a constant load of 6 ampere, what is way sufficient for all those tiny brushed 030, 050 and 130 motors we use in our microcrawlers. PWM frequency again is 16 kilohertz, so absolutely silent, no ESC whining, no noise. But it only runs on 2 S-LiPos or on 6 nickel metal hydride batteries cells. Unfortunately, it doesn't run on 3 S-LiPos, but there probably will be a larger version also for 3S in future. It has about every protection. It does have overheat protection and reverse polarity protection if you should plug in batteries with wrong polarity. However, also the Floh ESC. Do not plug in your battery into the motor port. This will destroy the Floh ESC as it will destroy all the other ESCs. This part was not a problem at all until Axial came out with the SCX24 and used the same JST PH2 pin connectors for battery and motors. Super stupid. But for sure they made a lot of money with this if people had to exchange their receivers because, or their receiver ESC units, because they erroneously had plugged the LiPo into their motor part or the motor port. The Floh ESC does come with a 5 volt BSC with 500 milliamps constant and 1 ampere peak. So yes, only 5 volts. Would be nice if it had a more modern 6 volt BSC or even high voltage, and only 500 milliamp constant and 1 ampere peak sounds poor, and this was what I also thought. But maybe we have to change our way of thinking. If we see such specifications in a German ESC, the Germans tend to give those values super conservative, super secure, bomb-proof. Similar, for example, in German SLS LiPo batteries, while Chinese often give super optimistic values, sometimes simply lies, propaganda. However, I tortured the BSC of the Floh with this GWV servo. This is the strongest and most amp-hungry micro servo I have. I had tested it in my micro servo test video, check it out. It can pull about 12 kilograms centimeter on high voltage, and I guess it was even on 5 volt, it pulled more than 8 kilograms centimeter. And torturing this ESC or BSC with this servo had no effect, so no bailouts, no problems, to my surprise. So super okay. So I can say that this BSC is way sufficient for all servos we use normally in our tiny trucks. I mostly use the Emax servos, and this will for sure be not a problem at all for the BSC of the Floh, if even the super strong GDW servo was not a problem. The Floh ESC does not have a special active drag brake as you will find in Furitech ESCs or the FCX24 or other FMS and Rock Hobby Micros or the Hobby Plus CR18Ps. It will shortcut the motor at 0 speed, what is natural 100% drag brake, as in the Modellbauregler DE ESCs. In SCX24s with warm gears, no problem anyway. In trucks with portals, not a big deal either. but you will feel a difference in trucks with only ring and pinion gears. This only because I do already know that many of you will ask about that drag brake, drag brake, drag brake. I personally for sure do not want 100% or even 75% drag brake in my FMS and Rockaby trucks, which will stop the truck super abruptly. And now let's come to the best part of the Floh ESC, the software. The Floh will never run hot. Not at all. It will stay cool, maximum slightly warm, maybe without about 40 degrees Celsius body temperature, no matter how hard you push it. The only way I could get it hot was when I plugged a large broken shortcut, standard sized 1 to 10 servo into the receiver, which had a shortcut. Then the BSC ran really hot and shut off, but after cooling down, it worked again without any problems. And the Floh ESC also does have super fine resolution, 11-bit, what are 2048 steps. 940 steps for forward and 940 steps for reverse. The rest is for stop and full speed. And this is absolutely fantastic. The awesome ASX24 Crawler ESC by Modellbauregler DE does have 10-bit resolution, so 1024 steps, and the elder AS1215, somewhere here, where was it? Here, and the tiny beloved AS126, which I showed you in my popular best ESC for microcrawlers video about 2 years ago, and which have better and finer resolution than all the other brushed micro ESCs available, including the FuryTech Lizard in brushed. They have only 8-bit resolution, so 256 steps, however, more than all the others. But those 11 bits in the Floh and 2000 steps are really too good or too fine for our radios and also for our fingers. I will show you the performance of the Floh ESC now and compare it to the actual on top brushed ESC for microcrawlers, the ASX24 Crawler ESC, with best resolution of all, and you will see and I will feel no difference in low speed modulation. Even if the radio could control those 940 steps in forward and 940 steps in reverse, our fingers could probably or cannot this short range. And it's even hard to feel any real difference between the ASX24 Crawler ESC with 10-bit and the AS126 with 8-bit, so only little more than 100 steps in forward and a little more than 100 steps for reverse, but better than anything else in this size. The biggest difference between the Floh ESC, what you will see later, and the Modellbauregler DE ASX24 Crawler is that the Floh goes directly from forward to reverse, while the ASX24 has a tiny short break or delay, which Modellbauregler DE made as motor protection, which highly will increase the lifespan of the motor. So it's on you to decide what you want. Super direct change from forward to reverse here, or significantly longer motor lifespan as in the ASX24 Crawler ESC. The Floh ESC does also have low voltage protection at 6.6 volts, so 3.3 volts per cell. So if you are one of those guys who runs his trucks until they stop, you don't have to be afraid to destroy or damage your LiPo battery. And it additionally can control reverse light and brake light LEDs, and therefore that's super simple. I soldered 2 LEDs, red for brake light and a blue for reverse light, to show you this function if you like it. Since the current is limited to 20 milliamps, if you use only one LED, 5mm, 3mm, you even wouldn't have to use resistors. But if you use 2 LEDs in parallel, you should use resistors. So let's connect it to a radio and to a motor. So motor control, I will show you in trucks, of course, later, but you see even only with a tiny pull of my finger, it does already start. It does have super fine modulation at the lowest speed range already. And it goes from forward to reverse directly. And what you can see here, that's the brake light. So if you are on power and then stop for about 2 seconds, this brake light will be lit up. And if you go reverse, the reverse light will be lit up. Nice, if you like it, a super simple way to do this. And now let's test the Floh ESC not only in a motor with gearbox but in a truck, in some SCX24s. So here a stock deadbolt, absolutely stock SCX24 deadbolt, and as you know, you hear the whine, and low speed modulation is going up a step. Check my index finger, but every one of you knows this. It's not the worst, but way not the best. All the newer ones, the SX24 V2 electronics, but the more the FMS and raw copy trucks and the CR18Ps have way better low speed modulation. And now let's simply plug the Floh ESC to this deadbolt. Here it is. I need an adapter if I want to use the stock SCX24 LiPo. Motor plug. And let's plug servo cable to channel 2. And that's it. And now check this. Check my index finger. It starts immediately. Absolutely silent. And check this out. How awesome is this? Completely silent, and you can go directly from forward to reverse, and super nice, awesome low speed modulation. I hardly touch the trigger and it goes, and I don't have to pull it a lot to climb up this step. Check this out. This is absolutely awesome. As awesome as in the Modellbauregler DE ESCs. We will compare those. Check it out. A little bit of throttle input and it will climb. And this is also way better than the V2 electronics of the SCX24. So let's compare it. Here is a stock SCX24 with V2 electronics. The new one, really good. But can you hear the noise? And do you see the slowest speed I can do? I have to use my... So check again out the V2 electronics, slowest speed possible. It's good, but this is way better. I didn't even start. I try to start as slow as possible. And you see, and here You have to hardly pull, and absolutely silent. Yes, V2 electronic is, come on, silent, but you hear the whining? Way not as silent as the Floh ESC is. That's the correct. This is absolutely fantastic. Wow. And I will show you also in comparison the Modellbauregler DE ES612 and the new ESX24 Crawler ESC. In this Chevy there is a tiny ES612. Where is it? That's this guy. And it's also awesome, and you don't really feel a difference in low speed modulation, even if this does only have 8 bits. You see it does already start. Well, maybe there's a little bit difference. Absolute silent, and you don't have to pull nearly at all. But what is the difference? You see, those are both ESCs. If you go from forward to reverse, there is a tiny bit of lag, but still, I still love those ESCs without BSC because they work awesome. And I will also show you the ESX24 Crawler ESC. This guy, I will mount it in the body here. So here now the ESX24 Crawler, absolutely fantastic too. No whining at all, and super fine resolution. That's a totally modified body with upgrade metal parts, so maybe it's a little bit different than the absolutely stock with the plastic parts. And it has a 050 motor, so not a real good comparison, while the other ones do have this stock motor, I guess, at least 030 motors. But check this out. And there is nearly no lag between forward and reverse, a tiny little bit. And here in the Floh ESC I have to find the correct radio. It's more silent, or not because of ESC whining, because it's completely stock. So directly forward reverse, and absolutely awesome, fantastic low speed modulation. And in the ESX24 Crawler ESC in a modified body. This noise is not from the ESC, that's, I don't know where it's from. Do I have metal gears inside? I don't think so. There is no lag. Super tiny motor protection lag. And again, the eldest one, the AS612, the super tiny one. But we want to see the new one, the new star, or one of the new stars, and that's the absolutely awesome Floh by Klemm Tech. Check this modulation. Wow, it's so cool. Yeah, it's at least on par with the best, with the ASX24. Fantastic. Yeah, and that's it for this video. I don't give you a recommendation. If you like to solder, like to make your own stuff and this, and you don't mind that you only can run on 2S, the Floh ESC by Klemm is an absolute fantastic new option, and it's not really expensive, and hopefully it will be available worldwide soon. I have to say I love it. It's fantastic, but I love all the others too. So it's on you. It's awesome. It's fantastic. It's a new company. Support it if you can. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you in the next video. I'll be back.